Westuhan, min friend, and welcome to another video. Oh, my dear friends, you might remember an author of the name George R. Martin and his very famous novel saga called A Song and Ice and Fire, which was adapted into a TV show on HBO called A Game of Thrones. It has unfortunately become a little bit of a joke because it doesn't seem like George R. Martin is going to finish his book series. Of course, the TV show was finished, and infamously, because a lot of people, the vast majority of fans, did not like the ending of the show. And there are many fans, many readers who don't care anymore. They don't feel the need, the urge to read the ending of the book series, either because they don't believe that George R. Martin is going to finish it, or that they are satisfied and dissatisfied with the ending of the show. Now, I'm a reader. That is why I did not mind the ending of a Game of Thrones TV show, because I do not consider it to be canon. I don't consider it to be the true ending until I know that the same ending is going to be included in the books if we ever get there. Now, it is very unlikely that the 7th book will ever come out, but we've got some progress. We've got some new information about The Winds of Winter, the 6th installment of A Song of Ice and Fire, and I'm sure, my friends, you've got, those of you who read the books, very fond memories of reading the books. Now, George R. Martin might be a better writer of short stories and science fiction, but I still consider A Song of Ice and Fire to be very good fantasy and very different from my favorite Tolkien. So let us dive in and let us read what he wrote in his latest, one of the latest entries to his Not a blog. And he writes, I have done a lot of interviews over the years, more than even I can possibly keep track of. Inevitably, a lot of them touch on the same subjects. One of the things I have been asked about is my writing process. If you have seen any of those interviews, you have probably heard me talking about the two types of writers, the architects and the gardeners. I have given the same spiel numerous times. Here's one of the most thorough explanations. And this is a video that you can watch, which I will not play here since I do not want to get a copyright strike. But he continues. Another question that I get a lot, especially since the end of Game of Thrones on HBO, is whether A Song of Ice and Fire will end the same way. An architect would be able to give a short, concise, simple answer to that, but I'm much more of a gardener. My stories grow and evolve and change as I write them. I generally know where I'm going. Sure, the final destinations, the big set pieces, they have been in my head for years, for decades, in the case of A Song of Ice and Fire. There are lots of devils in the details, though, and sometimes the ground changes under my feet as the words pour forth. Another question fans and interviewers alike ask a lot is, where do you get your ideas? Honestly, I wish I knew. When confronted with the same question, Harlan Ellison used to say, Schenectady. The ancient Greeks spoke of the muses. Freud talked of the conscious and subconscious minds, the id, the ego, the superego. More recently, we hear about the right brain and the left brain, one analytic and rational, the other imaginative and creative. I'm pretty sure the answer is not Schenectady, but aside from that, hell, I don't know. Yes, there are some instances where I know the seed from which something is in my garden sprang. The wall sprang from the visit to Hadrian's Wall in 1981. The Wars of the Roses inspired much of Game of Thrones. The Red Wedding was a mashup of the Glencoe Massacre and the Black Dinner from Scottish history, turned up way past 11. But for every instance like that, there are 100 for which I have to say I don't know. One day, though, just came to me. It wasn't there, and then it was. If that was the work of a muse, may she keep on musing. Which brings me to The Winds of Winter. Most of you know by now that I do not like to give detailed updates on wins. I'm working on it. I have been working on it. I will continue to work on it. Yes, I work on other things as well. I love nothing more than to surprise my readers with twists and turns they did not see coming, and I risk losing those moments if I go into too much detail. Spoilers, you know. Even saying that I am working on a Tyrion chapter, as I did last week, gives away the fact that Tyrion is not dead. Reading sample chapters at cons or posting them online, which I did for years, gives away even more. I actually quite enjoyed doing that until the day came that I realized I had read or posted the first couple of 100 pages of wins or thereabouts. If I had kept on with the readings, half the book might be out by now. So I am not going to give you all any kind of detailed report on the book, but I will say this. I have been at work in my winter garden. Things are growing and changing, as does happen with us gardeners. Things twist, things change, new ideas come to me. Thank you, Muse. Old ideas prove unworkable. I write, I rewrite, I restructure, I rip everything apart and rewrite again. I go through doors that lead nowhere and doors that open on marvels. Sounds mad, I know. But it's how I write. Always has been, always will be, for good or ill. What I have noticed more and more of late, however, is my gardening is taking me further and further away from the television series. Yes, some of the things you saw on HBO in Game of Thrones you will also see in The Winds of Winter, though maybe not in quite the same ways. But much of the rest will be quite different. And really, when you think about it, this was inevitable. The novels are much bigger and much, much more complex than the series. Certain things that happened on HBO will not happen in the books, and vice versa. I have viewpoint characters in the books never seen on the show. Victarion Greyjoy, Arianne Martell, Areo Hotah, John Connington, Aeron Damphair. They will all have chapters, and the things they do and say will impact the story and the major characters who were on the show. I have legions of secondary characters, not POVs, but nonetheless important to the plot, who also figure in the story. Lady Stoneheart, who we didn't see in the show, and I'm quite, my friends, interested in her. Young Griff, the Tattered Prince, Penny, Brown Pan Plum, the Shave Pate, Marwyn the Mage, Darkstar, Jane Westerling. Some characters you saw in the show are quite different than the versions in the novels. Yara Greyjoy is not Asha Greyjoy, and HBO's Euron Greyjoy is way different from mine. Quaithe still has a part to play, so does Rickon Stark, and poor Jane Poole, and well, the list is long. And all this is part of why Wind is taking so long. This is hard, guys. Oh, and there will be new characters as well. No new viewpoints, I promise you that. But with all these journeys and battles and scheming to come, inevitably our major players will be encountering new people in lands far and near. One thing I can say, in general enough terms that I will not be spoiling anything, not all the characters who survived until the end of Game of Thrones will survive until the end of A Song of Ice and Fire, and not all of the characters who died of Game of Thrones will die in A Song of Ice and Fire. Some will, sure, of course, maybe most. But definitely not all. Of course, I could change my mind again next week with the next chapter I write. That's gardening. And the ending? You will need to wait until I get there. Some things will be the same, a lot will not. No doubt, once I am done, there will be huge debate about which version of the story is better. Some people will like my book, others will prefer the television show, and that's fine. You pay your money, and you'll make your choices. I do fear that a certain proportion of fans are so angry about how long Winds has taken me that they are prepared to hate the book, unread. That saddens me, but there's nothing I can do about it. I don't think he has an editor for his blog, but write the best book that I can and hope that when it comes out, most fans will read it with clean hands and an open mind. That's all I can tell you right now. I need to get back to the garden. Tyrion is waiting for me. So, to which group do you belong, my friends? Do you care about the books still? Are you looking forward to at least The Winds of Winter? And do you even care? For myself, I have to say that if the book ever comes out, I'm going to buy it and I'm going to read it, because I am obviously quite interested in how the story will progress. Although I am afraid that I will have to reread the entire saga first, because of course it has kind of been mixed with the show in my mind, since it has been years since I read the books for the last time and also seen the television show for the last time. And of course it has caused a little bit of a goulash in my mind, as we say here in the Czech Republic. But that'll be all. I am quite interested in George R. R. Martin, if he ever publishes it or not, and how much different it's going to be from the show and the ending of the show. Let me know in the comments down below what you think, and that'll be all. Thank you very much for watching, and namaste.